Kia ora, we're coming from apparently Te Maui's favourite place in the whole wide world to be right now. Um, and I've kind of got an unboxing. Someone sent me a gift. I generally don't like giving out my address because, well, people start giving you things and then you enter this whole big exaggerated game of, well, I do, of trying to even things out. And it goes on forever. And this is another thing I don't normally do. I haven't even looked at it. I've opened the envelope it came in, and yeah. So this is where it's from. This is sent to me by a very good friend who also happens to be an author. So, see how this guy looks. Well, I must say the likeness is terrifyingly correct. And unless I'm mistaken, yeah, that's me, Tia Tangaroa Thermal, on the back. And that is definitely a kilt. That might even be the right talent for my last name. Rainbow banner on the bottom because I am non-binary. Little chef's hat, glasses. I actually own a hoodie like that. Soft grey. Don't wear it anymore because I got it when I was a butcher, and it's got some butcher's nonsense on the back about, if I wanted an easy job, if I wanted to do something easy, I'd do your mum, which was funny at the time, but less funny now. And yeah, a little axe, which I'm going to call a beef splitter, and a surprisingly short chef's knife. I mean, that's barely longer than his arm. Like, poor little Tia Tangaroa. You're not going to be able to do too much damage with that. That is very cool. So yeah, now to fill up time. It's actually been a very weird period for me. Been thinking a lot about ugly, hard subjects like love, and that kind of brings with its own little excitement to do with. I suppose we'll just dive into this. I don't really agree with the Western idea that love is a soft and delicate thing. I kind of think that's a cheap cop-out. I kind of think it's part of this weird misogyny that the West has going on and had going on for the better part of 1,000 years. And it's this real contemptuous attitude towards anything that could be considered feminine, like masculinity is the be-all and end-all. A very specific type of masculinity is the be and end all, because it would be understanding if they were talking about the supremacy of masculinity, but there was a more fluid understanding of what masculinity was, such as, say, the Japanese understanding of masculinity, or a more fluid Chinese philosophical understanding of masculine and feminine. Then you can start to kind of argue for supremacy from a point of one gender above the other, and not come across as just a deluded maniac because it's now a philosophical argument. And there's inherently in this conversation, especially when you start dealing with Chinese and Japanese philosophical points as to masculine and feminine, there is a fair amount of understanding that the balance is the most important thing. That is so cool. I suppose I should give you guys an extreme close-up of the little guy. The resemblance is uncanny. I actually used to have a chef's hat that poofy. Like it's what they call a pâtissier's bonnet. And I actually used to wear one. I thought it was kind of cool. I still think it's kind of cool. I'd like to get another one, but they're very hard to find, especially ones that are made to last. Anyway, back to the idea of love. And so this whole Western idea of love and masculinity and the inherent value therein and the inherent valuelessness of femininity, to me, it's stupid. it's kind of so erroneous that I don't even think it's worth debating anymore. Like that's how wrong I think the Western notion of masculinity and femininity is. I just think it's wrong. Like it's not even to me. I don't even really want to debate it. The masculine notions of feminine and masculine are just wrong. They are wrong. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Congratulations. Look, we're going to mark you not yet competent, and you can come back in a month and try again, and we'll see if we can get you competent. Thank you, Western civilization, for trying. But yeah, see you next semester. Sorry you've wasted your parents' money, etc., etc., etc. I think, in particular to the notion of love, I think a lot of people want to paint love as this kind of either one of two things. They want to paint it as some sort of obsessive, all-encompassing, you'll feel it from your very bones type emotion that'll sweep you away like a tidal wave, like so you'll lose control. And that's kind of a negative thing. And if you don't feel that, you can't possibly be in love. Or they want to paint it as this kind of delicate little ephemeral thing, like poet's toy. And I don't think it's that at all. Based on my 41 plus cycles around this planet, around the big glowing orb, big orange ball in the sky, our dear friend Bob. I think love is a more tenacious thing. Love isn't soft. It isn't rough winds shaking the darling buds of May. It is not chaste looks. It's not delicate touches. It's not hot wax and handcuffs and fucking all day, every day for weeks, and not being able to touch people, not being able to keep your hands off people. I mean, that's part of it. It's a fun part of it, but it's just a part of it. I think love is a more tenacious thing. I think love is that slow, irresistible force that just keeps you going. It's embodied by small things. It's not grandiose gestures. It's not massive piles of money or gifts. It's making someone coffee every day. It's spending one of your days off prepping food for the week so they don't have to. So all they have to do when they get home is heat something up. It's remembering their birthday year in, year out. It is a type of strength and tenacity that I think that in the West is misunderstood. And I think it's misunderstood because it can't be sold. You can sell people soft touches and chaste looks. You can sell people hot wax and fucking all day. That stuff you can commodity. You can pack that up in a box and you can sell it. Much like you can sell hyper-aggressive masculinity. You can't sell the more complex and nuanced ideas. When you start looking at for example, the Japanese idea of masculinity that includes the idea of ikebana, or if you like, flower arranging and calligraphy and calm, delicate things combined with overt displays of physical prowess. You can't pack that up in a box and sell it. We can sell you fucking Fit 45 and all that other bullshit that you want to done, that He-Man bullshit keto about swinging a sledgehammer into a fucking truck tire for 5 minutes and then scream bellowing like a fucking caveman. Except caveman didn't bellow like that because that's how you get fucking eaten by a bear. Like, we can commodify that shit and we can sell it. So it is. You can't sell a balanced thing. You can't tell people, if you do this, you will be fulfilled. Because if you do sell people a balanced philosophy, like the idea that love lives in small, consistent acts of care, you can't sell that next year. But if I fucking tell you love is buying someone a fucking $10,000 diamond ring and a fucking holiday to fucking Mexico or Hawaii or where the fuck ever, I can sell that to you again next fucking year. And that's why I think the West does not have a consistent, worthwhile idea of what love is, because Western civilization is about selling shit. It's 600 years of selling shit. And the problem is, when you accept that love is those little gestures, when you accept that masculinity is a many nuanced thing of balance, when you accept that gender isn't pink for boys and blue for girls, you can't be sold something next year. We can't repackage that idea and sell it up again. And that's the fucked up thing about Western civilization. It's not interested in anything that can't be sold to you again. Like, it's not... One of the whole points of philosophy and civilization and everything humans do is to satisfy that need for meaning. Like that deep, soul-quenching need to explain and to understand. And that's what culture is. Culture is people explaining how we got to where we are and what it all fucking means. And when your culture is fucking... You've had a fucking milestone birthday, have a fucking tropical holiday. You turn 35, buy a fucking house and have kids. If instead of saying you have to buy this thing so you can then move on to buy the next thing, it's a philosophy such as seeking balance in yourself is the whole point. You can only sell that once. Like, that's why when you look at Musashi Miyamoto, his writings are like 700 fucking years old. And everyone just kind of accepted that as the fundamental tenet of what it was to try to be. Now, you didn't necessarily succeed in following the path of the 5 rings. But there was no need to invent a new one. It was, the path of the 5 rings is not a fucking self-help book that you read this week. And then next week, when you find that empty, dull ache in your heart, you go and buy another fucking self-help book. It's a guiding process. It's about attempting to find a balance in your life. And more importantly, it's not even about having to follow one of the 5 paths or balancing all 5 paths. It's about you finding your balance, and your balance may lean heavily towards one of the paths than the other. But you still should try all of them just to make sure. But that's not an idea that you can sell people twice. So what's the point? Like, see, and I don't know. I was planning on just telling some funny little stories, moving on like that. But then this rocked up, and I kind of, you know, spins a bit of weirdness into your head, and all of a sudden, what you were going to do is not the thing you were going to do. So I've kind of been thinking all day. I used to, a long time ago, I was with someone that found it hard to get to sleep. You know, they had nightmares and stuff like that. A bit of PTSD for shits and giggles. So I just used to tell them absurd stories, just to help them to get to sleep. Things like, the legend of the mighty Dooney. Many people don't know this, but a Dooney is not just a piece of bedding, no, it's a wild creature from the Highlands of Scotland. And it's a fell beast, the only thing more deadly in my homeland of the rising vales of Scotland and the heath and the heather is the haggis. People think haggis is an easy thing, but I tell you, you get a haggis separated away from its chips, it'll turn on you. I was with a whole bunch of commandos once, 30, 40 of us. And commandos are bad fuckers. The thieves, rapists, murderers, killers, evil men. And then there's the enlisted men, they're not too bad. They're prone to drinking, fat like bastards. But the enlisted are too good. Officers are fucking scum. Anyway, that's not the point of my story. The point of my story is we were up in the Highlands and we spotted some wild chips. A lot of people will tell you that chips come from Belgium, or some of the lie that they tell the weans about them coming from potatoes, and I'm telling you, no. Chips wander the Highland, soggy and white. When you catch them, throw them in hot oil and until they get crispy. But in the native environment, chip is a soggy beast, like a fistful of wet wool. Aye. And normally they have a symbiotic relationship, almost parasitic, with a haggis. Haggis goes with a big old flock of chips, and he protects them. Occasionally you get a fried egg tagging along to pick off parasites of the haggis, but that's less common. Strange lowland haggis goes with egg. And anyway, I'll never forget it. We were sitting in the fen, making ourselves a cup of tea, the traditional way of boiling leaves, throwing that shit away, and then having ourselves a solid hit of whiskey. Traditional commando tea. And after about the fourth or fifth cup, I heard a noise, a scream. I'll hear that screaming till my dying day. I saved it on my phone. I use it as my text notification sound. It's brilliant. I'm telling you, you cannot ignore it. And it was a haggis. Caught one of the commandos. I tore him apart like a wet flannel. The poor son of a bitch never stood a chance. I lost 8 men taking down that fucking haggis. But eventually we got it wrestled into a pot of hot oil. Doing the chips with it as well, just to fucking teach him. It was a very sad breakfast, that one was. But a dooney makes a wild haggis look like some sort of French porridge. It's a vicious beast. You'll be minding your own on a hot summer's night, dreaming of beautiful women, beautiful men, or marginally attractive sheep, depending on how you want to go. There's no point dreaming of a beautiful sheep. You'll never get one. You'll never get one. Like, you'll see one in a bar and you'll be sitting there going, "You are so beautiful over there. Yeah, I'm gonna go over there and talk to her, but first I'm gonna have a drink to steady my nose," and you won't. You won't go. What'll happen is you'll be sitting there all night getting drunker and drunker, and you just won't go over and talk to a beautiful sheep. It just won't happen. So you're best sitting there and going for a marginally attractive sheep. Your average looking sheep. It's not because you're settling. It's just that a beautiful sheep is an intimidating thing on its own. Sure, there's men out there that claim to have been, they've been with a 9 out of 10 of the flock, but I didn't believe it. These tend to be the boys that tend to freak out when they're talking to a four or five. Maybe even a five if she's been shown recently. Hey, whatever, however you go, however you go. But anyway, enough about Friday night. We're talking about Doonies. And a wild Dooney, you'll be minding your own business, like I said, dreaming of a marginally attractive sheep, like a normal, healthy, red-blooded person does. And then out of nowhere, you'll drift off to sleep. And that's when the Dooney will strike. It'll creep up with you, wrap itself around you like a boa constrictor and try to choke you. You'll wake up in a sweat, half naked with a pillow stuffed in your ear. Dooney wrapped around you like some sort of python trying to crush the very life out of you, soaked in your sweat. And you'll be fighting for your life under a Dooney. Aye, and then you'll think you'll wrestle it, you'll beat it into submission, you'll put it in the bloody cupboard. But the next night, when you go to sleep, that bloody Dooney will get you. Dooney's a persistent hunter. He will ambush you in your sleep in the hottest of nights, and they will try to choke the living shit out of you. Tell you what, you cannot trust a Dooney, and it is a dead man that turns his back on a Dooney. Aye, even though some of them come stuffed with merino wool, and I'm telling you, they're hard to resist. The smell of lanolin on a hot night, it gets the blood flowing. You know what I mean? Like it's really a kilt lifter of a thing. Is a merino wool stuff to do now. Anyway, I used to tell stories like that off the cuff. I still kind of can. I mean, that was some weird shit we just went through right there. Fucking wild haggises killing fucking commandos and fucking wrestling dooners. For those who don't come from Australia, a dooner is like an eider down or a quilt or what have you. It's generally a piece of polyester between two pieces of cotton that you stuff in a sack, and then put on your bed instead of blankets, so you can ignore it when it's too hot. When it's cold, it's not thick enough, so you end up putting about 14 blankets on your bed. And building a nest that turns out to be too hot at 2 o'clock in the morning. Unfortunately, the cat's already sleeping on your chest, so you're trapped under this massive weight of blankets and cat. You basically got to sit there and accept the fact that you are now going to end up like a piece of desiccated coconut. And yeah, like this person I was with, I used to find those stories would help them drift off to sleep. I was planning on telling some like that tonight. It's been a hard day. The hard days make the stories like that flow particularly easy. Kind of old habit. That little tenacious speck of love that I'll never be able to wipe out. That just, when shit gets uphill, it's like, wow, run down the list, son. It's been uphill. Take care of your partner. How do you take care of your partner? Well, you make them coffee in the morning. Tell them stories to help sleep. Rinse and repeat. It's kind of weird to live a life that has been defined by service to others and realize that it's never really been worth it. Kind of cost that is extracted. It's never commiserate with what you get back. Doesn't stop me. I'm an idiot. I just told a story about a fucking wild haggis and fucking soggy chips, for Christ's sake. Clearly I'm not a sane and normal human being. Anyway, this is kind of hit the minimum length I like to post on my YouTube channel. I realise that these videos probably seem nonsensical and confusing and strange to some others just tuning in. But the whole point is there are a couple of people I know who find, for whatever reason, the sound of my voice calming and it helps them sleep. Like I said, I actually discovered tonight. I don't mind talking nonsense if it helps people sleep. Shit. Something's got to work, right? Anyway, if you're one of the people that listens to this video, I hope it's long enough to help you get to sleep. I hope you sleep like a champion, and I hope you don't wake up wrapped around a goddamn toonie, because those things are goddamn treacherous monsters. And I'll see if I can get a more regular schedule going on with my videos. I'm trying my best. The camera still hasn't arrived. It was meant to be delivered on Friday. Today is a Wednesday. But instead, we have this awesome little chef guy. To the person that sent me, thank you. You're awesome. I know you value your privacy online, so I'm not going to name drop you. If anybody else wants to send me something, a gift or something on from Parts Australia, please don't. I have a very weird brain, and it keeps track of every debt that I have, and I carry a lot of debts from people that I'm either no longer in contact with or no longer here. And so there's a part of me that's forever keeping score, knowing there's people I can't pay back, and that kind of hurts. So, anyway, I'm one of those people that doesn't like getting gifts for complex and disturbing reasons. Anyway, before I go, I'm just going to show you the rest of my minifigs, because I kind of think maybe you guys don't know that I actually have a surprisingly large collection of minifigs, considering I kind of sit there and say how much I hate Lego. So, let's pull these guys out. Okay, so these are mainly from the Batman series, because I kind of like them. First thing we have is, well, I don't have my Deadpool anymore. I really miss my Deadpool. I had a kind of unauthorized Deadpool one, but I'm sure there's an authorized one now that won't be nearly as cool. Harley Quinn, the New 52 version, which kind of makes it my favourite. I like the New 52 version of Harley Quinn. I've always liked Harley Quinn. I kind of identify with her. I think this is meant to be King Shark. I can't remember. Anyway, the Zodiac. Yes, this is who you think it is. Yes, this is from that version of Lego Batman. Poison Ivy, possibly one of the most underrated heroes in focus. Come on, what are we doing? You in focus? There we go. Poison Ivy, possibly one of the most underrated heroes of the whole Gotham thing, and I think she's a hero. I kind of think the whole setting the world on fire, well, if you look at Gotham lately. Okay, this is the Lego Batman Catwoman. I don't think it's actually Selena in this continuality. It might be. Yeah, that is Ballerina Batman, who's quite frankly awesome. The greatest anti-hero ever. Poor, desperate, emotionally broken Joker. In short sleeves, it should be said. This is the same swap son of a bitch in the full suit version. Yeah, look at that. Now, I believe this is Calendar Man, or Calendar Guy, who's a Silver Age Batman hero who's just a lunatic. We have Nurse. Nurse Harley Quinn, because I have a problem when it comes to getting Harley Quinns. This is our dear friend. I believe this is meant to be 1980s Logan, although I'm not sure. I lost the pack of these guys ages ago. This is Batgirl from the Lego Batman movie. This guy, who's a wanker. The Eraser. I think it's the Eraser. It could be Pencilhead. I can't remember. Needless to say, very cool. And yeah, this guy again, because you can never have too many of him. So that's my minifig collection. They used to live on my fridge. It's the Eraser. It is the Eraser. I just found his little thing that says to erase. Yeah, I can't really remember my Silver Age Batman villains because one, there's something like 150 of the lunatics. Two, most of them pop up for a grand total of a single episode, a single comic before they disappear. Like the original Joker was killed by Batman. I mean, the original Joker was just straight up murdered by Batman. Back when I was still Detective Comics, before it became DC, which for the record stands for Detective Comics. So when you talk about DC Comics, it's Detective Comics, which is like ATM machines. But whatever. People don't want to talk about it anyway. So a lot of Batman's heroes were just goofy idiots that showed up. I mean, there's this whole 3-comic bit about Batman having to change his suit, had to change the color of the bat suit all the time. Anyway, the important thing to remember is in the 1960s, during the Silver Age, Batman writers did all the drugs, just all of them. It didn't matter what the drug was. It didn't matter if it was a horse tranquilizer or if it was to treat syphilis. They just did them. They just snorted them and injected them, usually both at the same time, just to see what had happened. Anyway, so that's my minifig collection. Like I said, I used to have a Deadpool, whom I miss dreadfully, along with the person who gave it to me. I've always had a soft spot for Lego. It was easy to get me Meccano. I loved Meccano, but Meccano is very hard to get. And then if you're not meticulously taking care and oiling it, Meccano rusts into solid pieces, and then you can't pull it apart. Which is neither here nor there, and shows my age, the fact that I'm talking about solid metal Meccano. Anyway, guys, I'm going to sign out now. Stay safe, take care of each other, and I hope you enjoyed the story of Doonies and Haggis.